All right. So this will be, I guess, officially the zero point 0.5 episode of Into the Breach. Um, we are picking up after having already met Alex and Rob's character in a session that wasn't recorded, and this will get the players sort of together. We'll see how that goes. They are all, for one reason or another, on their way to Kor, the capital city of the Kingdom of Kor. They have, from the most recent stop yesterday aboard this elemental train line, they have 4 days worth of travel to get to Kor. The train itself is a elemental monstrosity. It is a mixture of mundane and magical metals that have been used to bind an elemental. This was done through Althanian magic. It was given as a gift to the Kingdom of Kor to help establish trade between Althania and Kor. It has been since maintained by some of the gnomish clans out of the Stormmaw Mountains, particularly those who worship the Forge God. It's considered a luxury, a once in a lifetime opportunity for the common man to ride on this train. So it's probably the first time that any of these individuals have been on it. The train is done thematically. Each room or train has its own theme representing some of the kingdoms that make up the greater continent. And where we pick up, we looking at a train room, train car, 3 rooms on each side, broken up so that there's privacy, each room being able to hold up to 4 people. The train, though, is not at maximum occupancy, and so we only have, for the most part, 2 people per room. This particular train is modeled after the Southern Kingdoms. As such, in the corners, it has an incense brazier that has a very sort of cactusy yet spicy aroma coming out of it. There are suits of armor that are made of tightly wound and wrapped cloth, banded with strips of wood and held together at the collar and base by decorative metals. Each one has a crest of one of the tradesman houses or merchant houses of the Southern Kingdoms. The walls themselves, unlike most of the cars, are actually made out of wood and not shaped metal. These woods are exotic and expensive. It has a lot of tapestries hanging around it, depicting different events from the Southern Kingdom's history, or highlighting one of the families to the south. The particular room that we're focused on at this point is the first one, and inside of it we find 2 individuals having boarded the train yesterday and having slept off their travels to get to the Stormmaw Mountains. We find them now sitting in the room this early morning, having not really had a chance to speak to each other very much the previous night after getting settled in. And it's there that we'll find Ken's character and my father's character, and I'll let them. We'll start with Ken, sort of describe their character to everybody, and then we'll jump over to my dad, and we'll let you guys take the scene.
Sure. Hugo Durant is a later 20s man with broad shoulders and a thick neck. He has arms like someone who has been swinging a hammer most of his life. He is barrel chested, but he hasn't skipped any leg days. He's pretty large all around. He is probably at this point like sporting a thicker or denser than 5 o'clock shadow, a gruff sort of mostly patchy beard. His hair is shoulder length, slightly curly, dark brown. He isn't an unpleasant man to look at. He's just sort of rough around the edges and a bit bigger than probably your average person. When he boarded the train, he boarded with a couple of packed full, heavy-looking rucksacks. And the train guard did take a number of weapons off of him. or from him. They didn't have to sort of ask him. He gladly handed them over to them. And he's been sort of lumbering around with these things, trying to find his car when he got on, and probably entered the room with a bit of sort of blustery noise. And let's see, he's dressed at the time probably in very comfortable yet homespun sort of clothing, thick wools and sort of drab colors, nothing overtly expensive looking about his person sort of whatsoever. He has a dagger on his simple belt, and he probably has like a pair of long, mid-forearm length, plated or enchained gauntlets that are loosely sort of tucked into his belt as well. Yeah, that's pretty much him. Like he's pretty average looking, I guess. Like he doesn't seem to be he doesn't seem to fit in definitely with the rest of the people on the train who are probably far wealthier and far better looking than he is.
Quick question: how tall are you?
Probably just a little over 6 foot. Yeah, he's probably like 6 foot, 190, something like that. Like, a little on a larger, healthier side.
What is your character doing at the moment?
Honestly, he'd probably just be in his room reading. He has a couple of books with him that appear to be of a religious sort. If you see him reading them, you could make out like the filigree and the how they have in a lot of religious texts, they have the illustrations around the outside of the pages. These books probably also have similar illustrations. And if you get I guess if you get close enough to him, you might catch a hint of religious iconography here or there. An amulet under a tunic, or like a burned brand on a book, something along those lines.
Cool.
And you said he's in this room with your dad's.
Yeah, so you were sharing the room with this other individual, whether he has stepped out of the room or is currently sitting in there staring at you while you're reading a book.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I guess we'll find out in a moment.
Okay.
Durr was out of the room briefly and has re-entered the room. What you see is smaller, well-built individual. Only goes about 5'6", 5'7" in height, but the shoulders are thick rather than wide. He is dressed in what should be well-to-do clothes, but they're well worn, obviously second or third hand. The boots are well traveled. He has hair that is down just above the lobe of the ears and pulled up into a knot in the back. It's a little unusual in its appearance in that the hair is black and white. Not so much it's going gray, but like it's not locks of hair, it's individual strands of pure white hair that shoots through the black. He has a full beard that is very trim, very neatly cut. The eyes are currently a very cool gray. The most unusual things you will notice about his appearance is he has a wooden cane with a dark metal head on it. The cane is intricately carved from the head down to the stopper. And he's wearing a pair of very thin but very extremely tight gloves. You cannot see the skin on his hands at all. He's wearing a cravat, so you can see his face, but you don't see any other skin on him besides his face. Also, he has facial makeup, in that think of the Crow, only without the white face. And I mean, it's done in the same stark blacks. The lip are done in black, but they extend into a slight smile on each side rather than the Crow's frown. Very light step. Skin is well tanned on the face from much exposure to the sun. Small satchel around one shoulder, and if you look across the shared room, there's a larger bag sitting on what would have been the bunk on his side. Good day, sir.
And he'll like look up and close the book, and then like look you fully in the eye to speak to you. Good afternoon.
This one is known as Dordrag. And your name, sir?
Hugo. Dordrag, where is that from?
Albania. The name it translates more or less as grizzled wolf. Why the wolf, I don't know, but the hair tends to lend itself for the grizzled.
Yeah, it gives a slight smile. Well, I saw your things over there, so I took this bunk. I hope that is not an issue for you.
There is no issue with this one.
Well, please have a seat.
Have you broken fast yet?
I have not. I've been fasting actually.
Then you are of the religious persuasion.
Again, like a friendly sort of smirk. Yes, I am.
Fascinating. This one has always found that the discussion of religion in congenial circumstances promotes both appetite and thought.
Well, thought I can deal with. Appetite will have to wait.
Very well, sir. And I'll settle back into a corner. So my back is actually in the back corner of the bench, and I'm facing the door.
Okay.
Okay. So the
No, you didn't.
AJ, you're so loud.
No, you didn't. You know why?
So the camera pans out of the room, and in the same car, but a different room, we see an individual sitting by themselves. It looks as though maybe there's no one else in this room, whereas in the other rooms we've seen, you know, the gnome stuff was on his side, and our religious individual, his stuff was on his side. In this room, this individual stuff is just, well, his packages that he picked up in places are here, and his stuff is there, and so on and so forth. But TBJ, describe this character we see.
He's of average height, maybe 5'9", 5'8", or so. Slender build. Definitely looks like someone that has never worked a day in their life. soft hands, pale skin, and freshly shaven, and his hair has been freshly cut. And he's got a number of packages scattered around him, labels on them and you can tell that they look like they're from different locations along the trek of this train. Some looks like a burlap sack, another one's dressed, wrapped in silks in a bow and such. And he's wearing very fine clothes, soft slippers, almost like pantyhosens and the short baggy pant like shorts, tight, very tight vest or shirt, and he has the only thing that looks like he might be able to take care of himself are that the sleeves of his jerkin can unbutton and undo themselves to make them very loose, and he has a long, slender longsword, almost rapier-ish in style, and looks like he may carry it with him for more as a badge of position and honor more than being able to use it. And he's an older gentleman, maybe in his 30s, and unfortunately it seems that he's acting a little bit younger than he really should be. Not a gentleman to settle down, and definitely took advantage of the brothels in remind me the name of the city again.
Olram.
Yeah. Had his fill there with his dad, with the stipend that he got from his dad to go on these errands for the family. His father kind of set him to run a number of errands to basically show his face for a number of business transactions. And I made sure that I saved a couple of extra coins so that I could engage in some of the younger ladies and gentlemen in the brothels and get my fill.
Can we tell all this just from looking at him?
Oh, I'm loud and a little bit obnoxious.
That's a hell of an insight check.
No, oh no. You may have seen this gentleman stumble his way onto the train, and for an hour or two after getting on, security has had to get him to quiet down a little bit and go back into his room.
Okay.
He might even have been the type, Rob, that since you got on at Olram also, he might even been the type that you kind of sized up for possible business.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing.
So as you're in this room by yourself, Thargus, there are large windows on in each of the rooms, and at this particular part, it is more or less rolling plains with the occasional dot of forest or scrub forest, and you can still make out, if you look across your room and out the other room, you can still make off in the distance the mountains that make up the Stormmaw chain. And if you press your face against the glass and look ahead of you, you can see the ruddy tan and redness of the Badlands, which are still a day, a little less, a little more away. But there is something unnerving about this landscape out there. Not that it's unnatural, just the speed mixed with the grass, mixed with the trees that whip by, mixed with the amount of alcohol you consumed yesterday before boarding this particular train has left you not out of sorts, but queasy this morning. And it's something you're used to, right? It's not far from your nature to indulge when there's things to be indulged in. but you've never done it and then immediately gotten onto something that's moving this quickly with this panoramic of a view. And as you're there and you're looking, whether you're seated or you're standing, and you're looking and you're fighting back that urge to see what it was you ate last night. You hear a rapping on the door behind you, and you can hear the door sort of open, and there is a brutish but well dressed in blue and red uniform half-orc who pokes his head in, and he's got a tusky, toothy grin. You recognize him as the guy who sort of broke up your argument with security last night and took you to your room. He opens the door and, are you feeling better today? More agreeable. You're muted if you're...
I say, yes. Oh, my good man, I'm very sorry about the way I treated your staff. They are excellent, I say. And I stand up and get closer to him, and I'm like, I must say, grabbing his arm and kind of like rubbing it like I'm familiar with him. Like, listen, I could really use a bottle of like one of your finest drinks. I know this miracle of science has in it some exotic libation. Yes, I really could use a drink. That wouldn't be difficult thing for you to get for me, would you?
He smiles. He takes half of a step back and claps you on the back, in sort of that like he knows you too manner. And as he does, he sort of pulls you towards him, and with his meaty thumb, he turns your head so that you're looking in the direction of the dining car. Right that way, sir. Enjoy. And he goes on about his business. And what you see is he stops in and he speaks to this person, or he sees that someone's still asleep in their room, so he pulls down a little shade so they can't, and he goes. Now, he has a very large metallic cudgel on his uniform. And the way that it works is the Universum Arcanum sort of controls the train, even though it was given the core. And they have adopted some 50 years ago the use of a lot of mercenaries. That makes him a little independent. And so this guy, he would be a sellsword, just in the employ currently of the Universum. And he seems like a jovial half-orc, but he also seems like he'd crush you without a second thought. You kind of felt that with his thumb. But as you are looking that way, you catch the eyes of this individual with peculiar black and white hair. He has his back in he's sort of cockeyed in his booth on his bench, his back wedged into the corner, and that would put his view coming back out into the train. And you catch his eyes for a moment, and the very first thing that strikes you is, do I owe him money? But that passes. And you likewise, you see a lady dressed in a scarlet set of leathers. She's coming out of the next car up. The way these cars work is there is a 4-foot or 5-foot, depending on which car you're on, set of platforms that go around them entirely. So you can actually get out and walk around these. And she is making her way from the car up, which in this case would be the dining car, and she's coming back this direction. She is quite attractive, and let's see if I can get a picture of her up here. She is moving with a very determined purpose. Hopefully that picture's up. And she comes up, she opens the door to your car. Not your room, but the car you're in. And she is, like I said, moving with a purpose. Her hand is actually placed on the hilt of her sword. Not in these, like, she's right-handed. It's not on the sword on her right. It's her left hand on the hilt of her sword on her left, right? And she looks at you, and you instantly feel molested, like sized up. Like she took you in, assessed you, and found you of no bother to her in that split second. And she continues by you very brusquely. She smells of, it's very disparate to what she looks like. She smells of like fine perfume and furs and Althanian spices and everything that just belies the way she looks. And she moves through this car. You see her, she kind of looks into the other rooms as she's passing, not really ever like turning completely, but you can see her eyes dart for a moment. And then she's past you, and you hear the gunk of the other door as she leaves and goes to the next train. The other two individuals, you guys would have, Hugo, you guys would have seen this as well, even if just out of the corner of your eye while you're reading. But you would have seen her move past, as well as the half-orc guard a moment ago.
Yeah, there's windows in each of the doors of the cars, I believe, like inner.
Yeah. So more or less, both sides of the car have windows in them. A very large one looking out, and then that sort of stereotypical large window in the door of the train compartment.
I lean, like when she passes by, I try to retreat back into the wall as she passes by me and kind of like unconsciously see if make sure my fly is closed and the way she kind of looked me up and down. And then I kind of glance over at the open door with the gentleman with like the black and white hair. And I kind of smile and saunter over to that cabin door and like lean my, like elbow against the door and say, "Hey, did you see that red tigress that went by? I've got to pursue. Hey, you want to join? They've got an excellent drink here. I've been told, as I kind of crick my neck, that it is excellent and it's improper for a gentleman to drink by himself. Come on, come with me."
When the lady in red came into eye view, there would have been a very brief motion on my part, in that from leaning back, cocked into that corner with the king sort of held loosely, one foot would have hit the floor, and the grip on the king would have shifted down a hair, just long enough for her to pass. And as soon as she's back out of sight, I went back to the more relaxed position. As Thargus, who I don't know yet, approaches the door, the smile comes back. This one would greatly enjoy the company, but I do not imbibe of spirits. However, my understanding is they do have a selection of coffees and teas, and I might join you in that.
Sure, I'll buy.
Very good, and I will entertain you with tales of wonder of faraway lands.
Sure, we'll keep that to a minimum. Listen, follow my lead, and remember, we are on the hunt.
The hunt is yours, sir.
Hugo just kind of like eyes these two lascivious dudes as they they prowl or go on the prowl rather, and then just goes back to reading his book.
Wait, you can't just sit there doing that. You gotta go on too. Put that away. It can't be anything more important in that book.
This one's cabin mate is of a higher mind than the one that you display. We should probably allow him his time in prayer or meditation.
I do not mean to cause offense. Higher mind are his words, not mine. I, of course, do not know you.
We are on the most amazing device ever created, and you were going to read a book? How many things could you discover by just embracing the moment?
There are more things in books than you can dream of, sir. Maybe it would do you good if you had perused between the pages instead of beneath the skirts.
My good man, it is not just always the skirts. There's some pants every now and again that I find intriguing. Like that guy with the book right there. Anyway, I will be departing, and I will pay. So come along. And I leave the door to my cabin open, and I leave the sword behind, and I'm going to saunter after this young lady who looks like she could probably rip me in two.
Okay.
Master Hugo, if not else, if you are of the clerical mind that this one assumes you to be, you, as many others of your ilk, are generally lacking in the monetary means. If not else, at least you can get a free meal out of it. I realize you are fasting at this time, but 'tis time to break fast.
I appreciate the offer, and I appreciate what you are trying to do, but I will hold to my fast until the sun falls.
This one wishes you well, then.
Enjoy your hunting.
I hunt not. I seek a cup of coffee and a light repast to fill the empty void between my ribs and my backbone.
So, the two of you head out following this this lady in the scarlet leathers. What's this scarlet leather? Scarlet leathers. She's actually heading towards the dining cart, which is the next one up from you. She came from behind and heading that direction. So as you guys step out, the first thing that strikes you is that it's not as easy to walk out here as your brain said it would be. So you step out and immediately you are hit with gusting wind. It's not enough to knock you down, but it's enough to catch you by surprise. It does, however, smell very fresh out here. It almost has an ozone smell to it as well, coming from largely up in front of you. But it's a pleasant day outside. It did rain for a bit last night, so there's a dampness to the air, and you can see through the large back window of this door into the dining cart ahead of you. There are a few individuals within view who are in various stages of eating, some getting up and leaving, some just sitting, some meandering about this cart. But you see ahead of you there, Thargus, you see the lady in the scarlet. She's leaned over a counter speaking to someone behind it. And you see she gets takes something from him and immediately walks out the far side. So she's leaving the dining cart. As the camera sort of spins after her, we see her open the next cart up, and as she's walking in, there are two individuals walking towards her. A pint-sized gnome and a second individual that, while she's staring at this this piece of paper in her hand, she hip checks the gnome a little bit. So I guess it's like almost hip to forehead at this point, without meaning to. But as your forehead connects with her, Icarus, you have a certain respect for it, because beneath her tunic is a very thin plate. Like, you can tell she is armored more than what you can see, but it is done in such a fashion that it almost form fits her and is underneath her clothing. You can see the chain spalders a little bit from her leathers, but you would suspect she's wearing leathers, but your forehead definitely hit metal. And she looks down at you. I'm sorry. And then she moves around you, and you see she grips the paper a little bit tighter, and you hear like, ah. And she moves up and like just rocks that door open, and then the sort of like, I don't know, angry wife sort of way, like the only way that a mother or a wife can like angrily open a door, right? Just she does not close it, so you get this horrible like of wind into the cart where you guys are as well.
She doesn't close it.
She does not.
All right. Well, I take a few steps after her because I turn around and I look. Now, to an outside observer, it would look like I'm checking her out, but the truth is, I'm looking at those seams on her armor, and I'm kind of analyzing it now that I know that there's metal under there. It's like, how does that work now? And I'm sort of looking at it from that perspective. But to anyone else, they wouldn't.
Right. You just check her out.
You wouldn't be able to tell the difference. There's still, that kind of look. But I kind of walk after her, both to look at her, but also to close the door. Hell of a piece of armor.
We're on our way to the dining car, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So when she banged into him, I probably would have let out the briefest like snicker. I mean, I caught it, but not like a little got out,
Right.
One of those. And then I'll contain the rest of the laugh, but I'll still probably be openly grinning. And what did you say, Icarus?
Hey, Wolfram, did you check out that armor? That was something, huh?
Yes. She seems very wary, very aware, despite her banging into her. No, she seemed very wary and aware, despite her banging into you.
I didn't notice. I was looking at the armor.
I don't think I would tango with her. The fact that she's armored makes her, well, all the more dangerous. But enough of that. Let us be off to get something to eat, shall we?
Right. I think I'll just get maybe some toast this morning. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys step out and through.
I would like to. What's the weather like out here?
It is very
today?
pleasant. It's like I don't do Celsius, but what, like 65, 70-ish Fahrenheit?
Yeah.
Right
We
around
did
there.
Fahrenheit till I was in grade 9, and then switched right in the middle of school for me.
A pleasant day.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's very pleasant.
The clouds have gone. Like there's no hint of the rain clouds left and things like that.
So you have that sort of like perpetual cloudiness, right? Where it's still a very nice day, but there's not a bright sunshiny sun, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the whole sky has this sort of blue hue to it, but there's no sun because it's all trapped behind cloud.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll go right to the okay.
Yeah, I'll go walk first because in my mind, even if I don't say it, I'm thinking it's polite. I'm blocking wind for him because he's smaller. You know what I mean?
I could probably bench press him.
I'm lean, but not strong.
Exactly. I'm tiny, but I'm very strong. So yeah, I don't care. I don't have my Icarus does not have an ego, so he just follows along. Whatever.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking I'm being polite, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we'll get to the dining car. What is we'll look for our seat that we used last time. I guess.
So as you get in
Opening it
there,
same way.
yeah. I mean, you see this gentleman,
Yeah.
from last night. Apparently,
Yeah, we do.
perpetually works in here, but he sees you come in, and he very politely nods over towards you, and he points over at a table that appears to be the only non-fully occupied table in here. A quick check around the room. You don't see the very influential gentleman from last night.
Right.
Ko Tantani.
Yeah, Ko Tantani. You don't see him, but you do see your three Althanian posers sitting in the table they were sitting at as well. There is a fourth seat with them that is unoccupied. But he points you at a table that has two other individuals sitting at it. The one gentleman with distinctly strange hair has this black and white striped. Well, stripe's a bad word for it. It's black hair that has white runs through it. And another individual that you can see, he has just grandiosely ordered something, and you have this sinking suspicion in the pit of your stomach. You know exactly what it was, because you see this fine
Box.
butler. You see this fine butler's face light up.
I turned to Wolfram. Oh, we gotta sit there. I gotta see this.
I'll just nod and smile.
Yeah.
So for the two of you sitting at a table, after you sat down, this butler, for lack of better terminology, comes over and he is going to buttle the crap out of you. He is
buttle roll.
so
with a real
he's
butt.
so impressive in his poise, but he after hearing Thargus talk about, he's heard rumor of this fine ale. Yes, sir, I know exactly what it is that you speak of, and would be glad to bring it out to you. Did you care for? You said the bottle, yes? You're muted.
Nope, you muted.
Yep. I kind of wave him off like, yeah, of course.
Very good.
Please,
And
please.
And
This whole time, I'm staring him right in the face, Targus right in the face, and just openly grinning.
Yeah.
Oh, would you like
I know what's coming.
yeah, so as these two approach the table, the butler steps back and he pulls the chairs out for them and he seats them at your table.
Perfect. Okay.
Good day.
And
Hey,
he
snack.
And samples for everyone.
samples for as you wish. And was it tea for you, sir?
Me.
This
I'll
one,
just
this one will. This one will take the tea. I will enjoy your selection.
He nods and then he looks down at Icarus and will you also be having the Althanian ale this morning?
No, thank you. No, thank you. I'll just have a nice maybe a cup of do you have any dwarven coffee?
We do.
I'll take some of that. Strong, extra strong if you've got it.
As if the dwarves made it any other way.
I'll just have some simple toast and your least expensive coffee, please.
He smiles with his very knowing smile, and he turns and leaves.
Oh, good day. Wolfram Van Gant at your service. You guys are both human, right? Just from appearance that way.
In appearance.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll stand up to be closer to your height, and I'll lean over. It's like Icarus, how are you doing?
Not bad. I suspect that we will all do better probably in another 5 or 10 minutes. That's what I
You're right. You're absolutely right about that.
And I point to the gentleman with the like black hair with like the white strands in it. I say, your mate in the room, should we order extra food and bring it back to him? It looks like he might need something.
This one's understanding is that he is fasting until after sunset, so I would doubt that would serve. However, this one does have a suggestion for you, sir. If this one understood the gentleman waiting, it was Althanian ale that you will be drinking.
Sure?
This one cautions you. Be gentle with it, or it will not be gentle with you.
Can all of you give me a perception check?
Yeah. Exceptionally average. 15.
10.
Oh, wow. 17 for
All right.
I rolled a natural 20. That makes it 24.
All right. Also, Dad, open chat and throw your character name into chat, just so people can reference it.
Durag.
Yeah, I know, but it makes it faster for if that way everyone's up there. All right. Anyway, well, everyone except for Wolfram, who is, I'm assuming, like lost in his chuckling about what's to happen. No, you know what? Even Wolfram, you even make this because you'd have a special set of circumstances here. You all get the feeling that someone's watching you, and lo and behold,
look at those Althanian boys again.
Yep. Lo and behold, as you turn your head, there are two humans, three humans, 2 male, 1 female, who are, to use a modern term, they're posers. Okay. They have adopted the affects of Althanians. They wear knockoff Althanian garb. They style their hair after the so on and so forth. It's still not cheap to do what they do, but they do it as a style versus a culture. And they are looking over at you, and you can see occasionally they kind of gesture that way or look your way and nod and are talking amongst themselves, and you get the feeling that jokes are being made perhaps at your expense as the young woman who's with them giggles often, and she is probably the worst about looking in your direction when she's laughing or giggling about this stuff. When she eventually sees Wolfram look over, she kind of does one of those little finger waves at him. And then blushes a bit and turns her attention with her hand sort of blocking her face back to the 2 gentlemen in front of her. And about that time, the butler comes back out with this wooden box. And he presents this wooden box to you, Tharkus. And you can see this wooden box. It's about 12 inches tall, about 5 inches wide, about 4 inches deep, and it's very well constructed, dovetailed corners, and it's been nailed closed by small golden brads. And he hands you this tool. Imagine what an oyster shucking knife is? So it's the handle of an oyster shucking knife, but attached to the front of it is a small crowbar. And he puts the edge of the box down on the table, like the corner of it, and he holds it in place after handing you this small crowbar.
I rub my hands together and I'm like, a clap. Yes. Gentlemen, this is going to be glorious. I have no idea what's in it.
Aloud.
Yeah. And so I
kind of lean in and I point to the little tool. I say, "Can I have that when you're done with it?"
Sure. I make a big show of like rolling the sleeves back, clearing the throat, stretching a little bit. You know,
you hear a bit more snickering coming from the trio.
And,
Yeah, I'm chuckling a little bit too, good naturedly.
Okay, and I look around at the guys at the table and I go, "Would anyone else like to do the honors?"
No, please. You are footing this.
You've earned this. You should get the whole package.
Why, thank you. And I start to work at the brads to like break it open. I'm not being very rough with it because I kind of want to savor the moment. But but yeah, I'm taking the crowbar and like around the little corners, trying to peek inside to see if I can see anything. Then work at it again to try to get to loosen it up, almost like a coffin, loosening up a nailed coffin, kind of. That's
sure. I give Icarus like a little elbow nudge, like, yeah, we know.
Hey, Steve, what I'm going to do is as soon as it opens, right? I'm going to reach down and touch my symbol, and I'm gonna give it a little twist, and the gears will sort of like turn, and a beam of light will sort of, coming from nowhere in particular, will illuminate the bottle, and there'll be kind of like this tone of like, oh,
nice,
using thaumaturgy.
So as this spotlight and orchestral music hits it, you see inside it's a crystal decanter bottle, and it's packed with some straw and feathers, and he pulls the bottle out and he holds it up to the sunlight and he closes one eye and he eyeballs through it, and then he pops the top off of it and he wafts it under his nose for a moment, and then he grabs it by the bunted bottom and he pours a smidgen into a heavy crystal glass, and he hands you the glass.
Ooh, okay. I grab the bottom of the glass. I, look at everyone else, squint one eye, kind of sniff it, see what it smells like.
So it smells like a combination of grapes and an autumn harvest. There's a sort of cinnamony, appley smell to it, heavily grape and cherry sort of waft to it. And you can almost smell the vineyard that it was picked from.
Yeah, you said it was kind of like a port, very.
Yeah,
rich,
it's got yeah. So as you sort of roll it in the glass, it's thicker than you would expect. Right? It's port's a very good like parallel for its consistency and almost that sort of striking flavor that it has. I happen to really like port. I don't know about anybody else, but as you take that first sip, it is one of the best drinks, perhaps the best drink you've ever had. It's slightly cooler than room temperature, and it's extremely pleasant, and you instantly feel this warming sensation as it sort of spreads through your body, and it doesn't immediately make you drunk or anything like that, but you feel in better spirits having had that first sip. You also hear a little bit of mocking clapping, some applause coming from the trio as they're just golf clapping you.
when they do that, I'm gonna still be looking at him, but I'm gonna reach down and get and kind of pivot with the little thing on my belt, and I'm going to make the sound of kind of like a grunt or kind of like a come from their table, like from underneath.
Right.
So as they're within 30 feet or so.
Oh yeah, and they give a weird look at each other, and
so just be a really awkward kind of sound
right
as it comes from their table.
Eventually, like very very shortly afterwards, the rest of your drinks and whatever fare you order, when he comes back to Thargus and to Durdarog, he asks you what you'd like to eat. And essentially, you can order anything. They have a means of preparing almost anything. So whatever it is that you order is brought out. And as your breakfast hits the table, it smells wonderful. Like if you have, if there's bacon, it is the freshest, most bacony smelling bacon of all time. As you begin to eat it, it does not taste as good as it smells. It still tastes good, but it doesn't taste as good as it smells. Maybe 5 minutes after your food has hit the table, this gentleman makes his way into the dining car. You guys would recognize him from last night. It is Ko Titani.
Okay.
I immediately raise my hand. Ko, my friend.
He nods towards you. So this gentleman, very very elegantly dressed. He enters and he stops long enough to collect the same small sort of coffee cup you saw him with last night. Mm-hmm. And he gets to the next door. He turns and he sort of hoists it to you in a bit of a salute. And he sees the wooden box on the table and he kind of smiles and turns and walks out the door. Ken, as you're sitting there reading your book, you hear a very pleasant sort of tapping at your door. And you see standing outside your door this gentleman.
Okay. Hugo gets up and slides the door open, having tucked his finger into the book to keep his place and gripping it in his hand.
As you open the door and you become fully aware of who this is, because of what you do, you know who this is. Ko Titani. He is the head. He is the second most powerful man in all of Core. He's the head of the Universum Arcanum.
Does he hold a noble title, or is he?
So he's a very strange individual. Titani is not a noble family in Core. He is of low birth, but he influentially is the second most powerful man in the entire world.
Okay.
And he comes in. He looks at you and he gestures to the seat across from where you were sitting. May I join you?
I do not know what I've done to deserve this meeting, but please. And I step out of the way and motion for him to enter.
He sits down.
I give a slight bow, like I'm unsure, what to do.
Right.
Do I say my lord or things of that nature? And I'm just a little thrown off,
Sure.
And it's probably pretty obvious to somebody like him.
He sits down. He looks back at you. And you know who I am.
I Well, yes.
Does it surprise you I know who you are?
It does.
Does it surprise you I know what you are?
A servant of Kor.
Go on.
I don't know what else you would mean.
He nods. He sits back. He does not sit like a noble or anyone of importance. He sits comfortably.
Sure, he's way too relaxed in this situation. Which is like making me even more guarded. Like I haven't even sat down. Like I'm just kind of standing there by the door, like still weird. Like not sure what to do with my hands, kind of thing.
It's awkward for me to invite you to sit in your own cabin, but please sit.
Yes, sorry.
No need to apologize. For some reason, I have this effect on people.
I take the seat on the bench across from him, and I just set the prayer book down in the space between us. Do you need my assistance? Can I?
He arches an eyebrow.
I'm sorry, I do not mean to presume. Please.
No, presume away. Well, first, let me put you at ease. You are neither in trouble nor beholden to me. So, hopefully that makes you feel better. It's not so much that I have need of your service, but more that I wanted to take a moment to see you, to think.
You're muted, Steve.
For more what it is that you are and what you do, rather than what you outwardly represent.
Well, I do not wish to sound. Well, thank you. I don't mean to sound ungrateful, but thanks for ministering to those who need it. I do not do it for that.
So there are certain aspects of your order that are best left.
When he says that, like I raise like an eyebrow.
Oh, so as you raise your eyebrow, he goes, good, we have an understanding.
Like maybe he hit too close to home, and I'm not comfortable enough to be able to hide my.
Right. Yeah. So so we do have an understanding, and that is the service I wish to thank you for. It was difficult, even for myself, to get you on this train and going where you're going. But it was a service I was glad to give. I just wanted to see who I'd given it to.
Is this then like a quid pro quo scenario?
No. You owe me nothing. The merit of those who vouch for you, the ideals that you uphold, those are good enough for me. Far too much of my life is a faceless benefactor or a signature on a law or a writ or a thesis or what have you. I don't often get to see the more common results of any of my actions, and in this case I knew I would.
Again, pardon my bluntness, but I would imagine a man with your affluence could see any number of common results if he were to put his, well, purse to it.
Not everything, well, not everything in this world should be able to be bought, but everything can.
But not by everyone.
But even the most well-meaning coins often find themselves in the hands of those with lesser meaning.
I just kind of nod.
So, I simply wanted to put a face to a name and a signature to a face.
Well, I don't know what I did to deserve this opportunity. But I thank you for it, and I'm sure my order thanks you for it.
When you are where you're going, I know that they have asked you to meet with or support the abbot there. Be careful. It is... Let us just say that this new world, although full of strange characters or strange creatures, I am not sure doesn't also harbor serpents. And he stands up, finishes his tiny cup, like espresso-sized cup of coffee. He sets it on your windowsill, and he leaves.
When he gets up and goes to do all that, I'll get to my feet as well. I'm not gonna just stay sitting there as he
right.
Shambles out of my room. And then I'll close the door behind him with a sort of disconcerted look on my otherwise calm face.
All right. Meanwhile, back in the dining car, those of you who are partaking of this Althanian ale are enjoying it. Those of you who have ordered your dwarven coffee or teas, they're quite good. The tea that was brought to you is a Southern Kingdom tea. It is citrusy and earthy and bitter, but it's good. It's also very, very potent. You may not sleep for the next 25 years of your life, you think, but
I can get some more work done.
Honey at the table.
If you want it.
sweeten the tea.
Okay.
Other than that, strictly black. Meanwhile, looking over at our three posers, in a carrying stage whisper as a trained orator, I whisper to the gnome gentleman sitting with me and ask if he has noticed the smell like their diapers hadn't been changed recently.
Is that what that is? I thought it might have been coming from the engine.
This one thinks the engine does not smell nearly as foul for nearly as long.
You know, I think you're right about that. I think you're right. Well, nothing they can do about it really at this point. They'll find out.
Except this one thinks maybe one of us should seek out their nanny and have them taken back to continue their training in toilets.
I laugh and look at them, and I give them a wave as if they couldn't hear us.
So yeah, so at this point they begin to snub you, in that sort of way that like famous people, they just don't look towards the commoners, and there's a bit of disdain in their posture as they sort of turn away from you. The butler comes back and he clears your dishes and refreshes any teas or coffees. Asks you if you'd be ordering a second bottle of the Alfanian ale.
I interrupt before anyone has a chance to respond, and I say, "I'm sorry. What was your name again?"
Are you asking the butler?
Yeah.
Oh, Barrett.
Barrett. Nice. This is excellent coffee, I have to say. It's quite good. May I ask where you get it? I should like to purchase some in the future. Should I make it back alive?
He looks at you, and you see like he runs through his mind real fast, trying to figure out which coffee you have, because there are other people in here he's taking care of.
Oh yeah.
And he,
It's the dwarven coffee. Yeah. When I see
it. I regret to inform you that you wouldn't be able to purchase it, not on board the train, sir. That particular coffee is magically created.
Is it? Is it indeed? Well, my compliments to the conjurer then.
He smiles. Yes, the Universum does well. The tea, on the other hand, he gestures towards to Durdarag. That is from Spices and Tea themselves. You could purchase that if you wished. And he cleans the dishes off the table, and he stops. He starts to go, and then he looks back, and so will there be a second bottle of ale? He smiles, and he looks down at your hip where your coin purse might be.
Yeah.
And he goes,
I kind of reach into my pocket and I take out my little tool from last time. And I just kind of fidget with my fingers, say, it's good the first time, but I wouldn't recommend a second helping. It's a little heavy, if you know what I mean.
I'm just grinning.
So the butler, Barrett, he leaves, and as he goes somewhere towards the back of the cart, and you see Ko Tatani come walking back through, and he pauses.
Ko.
He smiles and kind of shakes his head, but not like in a bad way. And he walks over. He stops at the table and he looks down. Was the ale good?
I smile. I'll look at the purchaser.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too.
I'm feeling pretty good at this point. Quietly basking in my own glow from the drink. Like, oh, this is great. I gesture around to anyone else who would like A drink?
Oh no, please, you should get the full effect.
I'm just gonna pour
KO
my
grabs
coffee. That's all.
KO holds out a small crystal cup from the table to you and allows you to pour for him.
Oh, I pour. Absolutely. Give him a 2 fingers.
And he smiles. He drinks a little bit of it, and he turns to walk. Thank you. And then he stops and he looks back, and Dragante.
What?
The gentleman in the car across from you. I might have left my coffee cup in there. Could you see that it gets returned? And he walks off.
I'm a little dumbfounded. I look at everyone else at the table and go, "Was that? What is that?"
Oh, do you know KO?
We go way back.
I love the fact that Icarus is like on a first name basis with like one of the most influential men in the world. Wow, like this.
Like that? You know him?
Well, we've met. We're not best buddies or anything like that. Just but he's a decent enough fella.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Fine dresser too.
Yeah,
He's amassed himself vast wealth. He's an empire unto himself. The stars align with his mere presence. He is gravity.
He does have a lot of hidden powers.
And the entire time the guy was there, I was doing my best to sip at my tea.
Sure.
Coffee cup. Coffee. He said get coffee. Okay. My father.
This one believes that he left it in this one's car. This one would be happy to ensure the return if you desire, friend.
No. He specifically requested that I get it, and my father would not. He would not want me to screw this up because I always screw things up. Let me. Excuse me. I'll be right back. And I kind of like do the awkward. I'm going to push past you while you're at the movie theater, but you haven't moved your legs yet. Thing to get out of the table. Pardon me. Excuse me. And then to kind of like stumble my way back, trying to hold on to a chair here or a table there to stumble back to the rooms.
Yeah. So a couple people are like, "Hey," as you bump into their chairs or whatever. One dude who he's been in there and he's been so gently cracking his egg. So gently. He's
Shaving with a straight razor.
Just ruin his breakfast. But
as I sort of watch him go, I like, and I kind of unabashedly reach across and I grab that little tool and I stuck it in my pocket. Okay.
As you're darting out the door, Barrett, you hear him. He sort of holds the door open. He calls after you. So put it on the tab, will I?
Well, yeah. And anything you guys want, whatever. I just
very good. And he closes the door and goes about his butlering in the back. And yeah, you make it to the next car and presumably back to where he left his coffee cup.
I was just say, while Thargus is gone, I'm going to get Barrett's attention and order about a half a dozen sandwiches.
All right.
Okay.
He and do you want them
like
all
in
now?
doggy bags or whatever the medieval equivalent is? No, wrapped up for later if you don't mind.
Very good.
Yeah, he likes to eat in his cabin. religious thing. I think I don't know.
Yeah, some people do. Our Althanian visitor, for instance, also only dines in his cabin.
Yeah, well,
A real Althanian? I'll say loudly.
There are Althanians aboard.
well, not in this room. You know, there's no real ones here. Is what it's saying.
Yes, we do have a guest of the state on board the train, heading for Core.
May this one inquire as to the noble Althanian's name?
Ooh, I will find out if I'm allowed to.
If not his name, then this one would be sufficed with what title he is called.
The.
Yeah, right. Okay, so yeah, so he nods, and that he is the Calfet, which would make him a prince, more or less. Not anywhere near in line for like thronehood, but
The
he's more
Sultan's second cousin's half brother.
Well, there's only 1,800 of them left, so you know.
Right. Yeah, I mean, essentially, he's the king's wife's brother's son. But he still holds a princely title. Well, it doesn't translate back over to Corvish very well, or common. Prince.
King's nephew-in-law.
At which point I nod graciously to the two that are at the table and excuse myself and rapidly disappear back to my car.
I'm gonna go hide for the rest of the train trip.
Essentially.
All right. So yeah, there's this very awkward double departure now.
I just kind of shrug. I just
Most
kind of shrug.
unusual.
If there's any of that ale left in the decanter, I'll just tip a little bit into I'll just tip some into my coffee.
I imagine that there's probably a smidgen left. You know.
Yeah, that's enough. I just want a little bit, so I'll just kind of like tip the rest of it in and
sure,
and then put it down.
You also now you have a second very expensive bottle.
Yep.
And a box opener.
Yeah,
that's right.
And a box shucker.
Most unusual, he
now.
seemed quite distressed by the fact there is an Althanian on board. Curious.
Well, some people are intimidated by those dandies. I don't care.
So
I've
Barrett
never met one personally, but
Barrett looks at both of you and goes, "It's not uncommon for a half elf to have that reaction." And he turns and
did you notice he was a half elf? I kind of lean in. I didn't even notice that. Not that there's anything wrong with that,
Not until he left. No, I didn't.
Oh, well, what are you gonna do?
I have no trouble with half elves.
So is it just Wolfram and I at the table now, or
I think so.
Wolfram and I at the table now? Oh,
yeah, and by this point, it's kind of just you guys in the dining cart. Everyone else is. I mean, one guy's breakfast is completely ruined, and then everyone else has eaten and dispersed to there. So at this point, you see the little halfling guard. You see the half orc guard, and a couple you hadn't seen before. They come in and they take a seat together and are served meals, maybe not as opulent as a lot of the other ones that you saw being served in here, but at no point do they pay for it. You know, and they speak quietly and in a language that you're not super familiar with. It's somewhere like Pig Latinish, right? It's common, but it's not. Which is not uncommon for some of these mercenary groups to have developed their own not full on language, but enough that they can carry on basic conversations without the risk of being overheard and understood. So yeah.
And what do you think of our other newfound friend? He seems to have deep pockets, but perhaps slightly addle-brained.
Or a dash of ignorance. I'm not really sure. Look, we don't have deep pockets, and so
there certainly is a colorful collection of individuals upon this vessel.
Well, as one might expect. I flagged on Barrett. Say, Barry.
He comes over.
Barry, can I? I'll settle my check now, please.
Thargus was paying for it all. He agreed to set the tab graciously, and I will relent.
I know. I couldn't do that. I'm sorry. As much as it might be funny, I couldn't do that to him. So I'll pay for in a gesture to my food and my coffee.
Okay.
Well, I will not insult Thargus by refusing his generosity.
It's 5 silver, 5 copper for your entire.
Oh, okay. All right. So I hit him over those, and I actually put in an extra 20 gold, and I said, and I'm gonna try to do it in a way so that Wolfen doesn't necessarily hear. I don't care if he does necessarily, but I'm just not, And I lean in and say, just put that towards his, the box,
Yeah, the deftness with which his hand closes around the extra coin, still leaving the normal amount of coin exposed, is very practiced. And
I suspected it would be.
He nods. And he turns and goes about his butlering business.
You're a good man. I nod. All right. Well, what do we do with the rest of our day? I might take the railing outside and watch some of the scenery. I don't get outside much.
I think I might walk about. There seems to be a lot of interesting travelers upon this train. I might wish to size them up, including our newfound friends.
Oh, and hey, if you hear any more about that, the tour of the engine, let me know.
Yes, we'll see if my words had any effect.
Steve, you said the VIP car was all the way to the front of the train, correct?
Correct. It's engine, another car that you're not 100% sure what it is, and then
I stopped by my berth, reach into the larger of the two satchels that I had, remove a small piece of wood, grab the smaller satchel, and I am headed as far back in that train as they will let me go. The rest of my stuff I'm leaving in the car, but I am going to as far to the other end of that train as I can get.
All right, so let's hold on that, because the first person that will make it to your car is actually going to be Thargus, because he's going to go pick up this coffee cup.
Well, I'm having a little trouble trying to open the door between the cars. Like, I'm just like, okay, the door handle, trying to hold on, keep my balance, and work my way through with the wind blowing and stuff like that. So I'm not moving too fast. He'd probably outwalk me.
All right, so yeah, you get up to him. He's struggling with the door and probably gets it just open as you get there. So you pass by him struggling with this door, and you get back to your room where Hugo is I guess presumably in there still reading.
Actually, he's looking at this little coffee cup, like
Just
yeah, like he's got it in his hand, and then he sets it down on the table, sort of shaking his head as you blunder in and like quickly rummage through your things. Something wrong?
No, this one seeks simply some peaceful time to meditate, which this one has always found that occupying the hands leaves the mind open for the meditation purposes. So I seek a more open scene.
I would gladly leave the car if you would like some peace to yourself.
That would not that is not necessary. This one will seek his own solace.
Very well then.
all right, and you can go as far back as the railing and walkway that wraps the last car, because inside that is everyone's goods. There is a human guard standing out there in his blue and reds. He has a short sword on each hip, and he is sort of lazily sitting in a chair, kind of cocked back and daydreaming, or perhaps even completely asleep. But as you walk back, you get the feeling he knows you're there and doesn't move to do anything.
If this one may inquire, is there another seat to join you in this area?
He points to his left. There's a bit of a bench there, well worn and butt polished, but there's a bench there.
I prop the cane so that it rests over one thigh and under one knee. Open the small satchel. Remove a couple of small sharp tools and begin to carve on the stick that I brought with me.
All right. And it's a pleasant mid-morning, early afternoon for that. So jumping back to Thargus, now blundering into the room.
Can I help you?
This one kind of blew past me and didn't help me out, but if this one could point me to a coffee cup of a particularly important nature.
He just kind of like lifts his finger and silently points directly at it.
Yes, listen. I'm going to need that cup and return it to a particularly important gentleman.
Okay.
But I can't hold it right now. I'm afraid I may damage it. So I'm going to need your help. Don't break it. Don't move it. Keep it safe. But when I need it, I'm going to need to take it from you.
You need me to act as
I'm
your
a
actual
little
cup
drunk.
bearer.
I don't want to break it.
I see.
But this could really help me not go over to that god-awful place that my father has... never mind. That could be the key to my freedom. A simple coffee cup. I cannot believe it's in my hands. Okay.
Well, it's in my hands, right?
Oh, that's right.
I picked the cup up, like daintily.
Yes, like just like that. Hold it just like that. You're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Don't drop it. Don't break it. It's worth far more than you can even imagine. I mean,
Can you give me a perception check real quick?
Yeah, sure. No sweat. Nah, dog.
Okay, that's fine. All right,
Like a 5, maybe. I mean, whatever.
it's good.
Yeah. Oh, 4. Sweet. Yeah. If it's that important to you, I suppose I will carry this cup for you. Where are we headed then?
Where no one wants to go. To that place in another world. It's what controls the entire economy, whether people admit it or not.
With the cup, where are we taking the cup?
Oh. We're going to take it to KO. And we're going to ensure that he receives his precious little cup for whatever his reasonings are. And I'm going to buy my freedom. This is going to happen.
I don't want to spoil your fun little scavenger hunt, but he did just kind of leave it in here as if it was a nothing item. Are you sure it's as important?
I could care less how important it is to me, but if it's important to him, it's got to be something.
Okay, very well then. I leave.
Things we do. Yes, the things we do, movers and shakers of the world, nobles and merchants and wheelings and dealings. A simple coffee cup could be the difference between toppling a nation. Whatever. I can just imagine handing the cup over and he says one word to my father, like, yes.
Thank you for bringing me my cup.
Kind.
Yeah, you've crafted quite a narrative around this coffee cup. Perhaps we should see this quest through to the end quickly.
Sure. Yeah. Let's go.
I take the cup and leave the book. And I follow him out.
All right. So.
Oh, I have no idea where KO is.
Well, you make your way back up. Towards the dining car. That's the direction he traveled. And as you step in, it's empty except for, like I said, the few guards who are over there. And you see Barrett behind the counter. He's wiping something down, and he looks up and could I help you?
Yes. I'm looking for the gentleman KO. He passed by, made some overtures, and I have something very important. Could you direct me to his stateroom, maybe?
He looks at you. Oh, he comes out from behind the little counter, and he gestures through the door, continuing up that way. He's that way, and if you have something important for him, you shouldn't tarry here long. And then he reaches over and he grabs the coffee cup from
Give it to him.
Yep. And you see he looks at it, he turns it over and sets it onto a stack of other identical small coffee cups.
What? Oh.
But he is that way, and whatever it is that you have that is so important for him, you should
I'm like standing behind him, like just smiling, like like this is the most ridiculous thing. This dude thought that his coffee cup was going to bring him.
Now you must choose wisely.
Yeah. drink of the cup of Christ.
I like turn and just like without using my arms, I just dump my head and my shoulders into like Hugo's arm, just like lean against him, like oh well. I was so ready to kiss his ass. I mean, I was. I've had years of practice.
I could also tell that.
Yeah. You can see it in the face. Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah. Well,
it radiates outward exuberantly.
You have no idea. Look at you. What do you live on your own? You've got no rules. You just want. You look it. You have no idea the stress it takes to be a noble's son.
I'm sure it is a very difficult life you lead, and I don't mean that in jest.
Go here, do that, be this way. Don't say that. 4 days, it'll be over.
There are easier but less comfortable lives that one could lead. More meaningful, perhaps.
I mean,
you wouldn't be chasing around a man on a train with a coffee cup. Although, I suppose I was chasing you around a train with a coffee cup. I kind of mumbled to myself.
Oh, well. Back to my life. Thank you, my good man. You're going to have to, for this, you're going to have to show me a little bit in your book one of these days. But I think I'm coming down from a nice buzz, so I'm going to have to top off a little bit.
So as you say that, you look over towards the bar, perhaps looking for Barrett or whomever, and there is a small shot glass there with some brown liquor in it. No Barrett to be seen. You didn't hear it poured or set, but it's sitting there.
All right. I kind of like look both ways, like, I lean my elbow on the counter and kind of scoop it, and I say to Hugo, like, are you headed to the breach? Are you headed over?
Yes, I am.
So what drives you to this other world? I mean, you could go anywhere.
There are men and women of the faith on that side. Men and women who need someone to continuously show them the way, the light that is core. Someone to minister to them, protect them from whatever ills may befall them in a strange land.
Well, at least you have a noble reason to go. I'm being sent away so that I probably can die. I mean, it's my father has no place for me in his business, and my brothers and sisters are all knights this and anointed that. And who am I? I'm the prodigal son. So I make the family look good by having one of their own sent to this other world. If I don't come back, still makes the family look good. You know? So
we each have our own burdens to bear.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I might find something worth, I don't know, just living for over there, maybe. Not much here.
I'm sure there'll be many noble things you can do beyond the breach.
Great choice of words. There's nothing noble about nobles. Lying and cheating and smiles covering, a viper's grin. It's just that's what being a noble is.
It is rather ignoble, then, yes.
Ignoble. What a great word. I'm going to borrow that from you, sir. I'm an ignoble. I'm going to make a badge with that. My father would love it. All right. Let me get you back to your book. I didn't mean to take you away from that. And I slap you on the back and let's go on back.
Sure.
All right. As the two of you step out, I need each of you to make a perception check for me again.
Yeah, sure.
And then Alex and Rob, are you guys back up in your room?
Yeah. One thing I did want to do, though, was kind of walk to the back and back. Basically, what I'm going to do is take a glance in each and every window, and I want to see who's on the train.
Okay. So while you are at the back, like the caboose, the luggage compartment, you see this this guard. You also see Dirtrog back there. And I'm gonna go ahead and, since you guys are together at the moment, let me go ahead and get you both to give me a perception check with advantage.
$17 is my best.
All right. Dad. Perception check with advantage. Alex, if you're up in your room, go ahead and give me a perception check with disadvantage.
Well, actually, what I was going to say, while he's doing that, I was planning to just go out and just kind of one of the outside railings and just kind of lean on it and watch the
what part of the
train go by.
What was that?
23.
Okay, what part of the train are you on, Alex? The front, the middle, or the back?
I guess probably the middle on, I don't know, whichever random side. I guess doesn't really matter.
Right.
So.
Yeah, just go ahead and give me a regular perception check then.
Okay. I am enchanted by the landscape. I rolled a 1.
Fair enough.
Actually, I might be looking down like at the mechanism of the wheels or something like that, or whatever these things ride on, and leaning over, kind of like, oh, look at that's amazing,
Rob, what was your roll?
Sorry, 17.
Okay, so Dirtrog and Hugo, you guys both catch a glimpse of movement on top of the dining cart. Rob, you catch a bit of a fleeting shadow. It crosses you, and it hits you weird because there's no trees or anything for you to have gone under. But you definitely get that sensation of a shadow crossing you.
Okay, well, reflexively, I probably just throw myself against the wall and put my hand on my sword hilt.
Okay.
Then look around.
The tool and stick go in the bag quickly, and the cane comes out from under the leg, and I poke the guard with not with the handle, but with the blunt end of it.
He stirs.
I noticed Dirtarag respond. What did you see?
You see him put his finger to his lips and point up. The guard looks at you like puzzled for a second, and then you see that he sets his chair back down quietly. He's not a fool, and he stretches and kind of walks out to the rail and straightens his uniform, and he looks back behind the train, puts his hands behind his head, and then he looks up that direction.
Are there any rooms, doors to rooms off the side of this car?
There's one door. It was right next to where the guard was, and it goes into the luggage compartment.
Yeah, no, I meant like at the sides, like on this car, not the car behind him. You know what I mean? Like, is this a passenger car that has 4 cars off it? You know what I mean? Like 4 rooms off it, I should say. We're in the penultimate car, right?
Right, you are in the very last car.
Oh, we're in the last car.
Yeah, you said you walked to the back of the train, right?
Yeah, no, but I thought I could only get to the penultimate car because the last car had all the goods.
No. So you can get back there. There's just a guard who won't let you into the car itself, right? So you can be on the railing around it, or even on the butt end of it, which is a much larger platform. If you wanted to kind of see where you've been.
Oh, okay.
Which is essentially where I and the guard are sitting.
Right.
Well, I guess I want to move away from him a little bit. We don't want to be in the same spot. It seems to be more advantageous.
Sure.
At least I'm thinking tactically for us to be able to flank whatever comes in. So I'm going to move a distance from him, and I'll, make eye contact, but not say anything, and I'll have my sword at the ready.
All right.
Steve?
Yep.
I twist the head of the cane,
Mm-hmm.
and about 4 inches of blade shoots out the bottom of the cane.
Right. Turns into a little short spear.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the guard stretches and he looks that way, and he doesn't see anything immediately. At least he doesn't give on that he sees anything immediately. But then even without a perception check, right? You guys are you're all looked this way or focused this way in one sense or another. You hear kind of like claws, nails, long fingernails on the roof for a moment. There's that sort of like scrambling, like scratch, 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 scratch sound, and then it goes deathly quiet up there.
Okay. This guard is a dwarf, right?
This guard is a human.
Okay, but we saw other dwarven guards in the dining car.
Yep,
right?
there is a dwarven guard up there. Yes.
Okay, so at the, I guess I'm trying to space this out. So there's me and Dirtarag and the guard. Any space like where one of us isn't, I'm going to point and I'm going to make an illusion of a dwarven guard just standing there.
Okay. You do, and
Steve, typically on trains, and I don't know if this one holds true, that last car has an overhang over that that butt out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to, as I pop the blade out, I'm going to step under that overhang.
Okay.
Like I'm going to the door, put my back to it so that the overhang is between me and whatever's on top.
Right.
And now I'm watching the rim where
Sure.
He'd have to come down from to the rail.
Right.
And I'm standing at ready with the spear.
Okay. So you're looking that direction. Rob, you cast your illusion. Which way are you looking at the moment after your illusion goes off? You're muted. You're still muted.
I'm sorry. So I'm going to just see which way Dirtarag is looking, and then I will look the other way so that we have both, we're covered with a sort of 180 view kind of thing, so we can't get.
Gotcha.
One of us will see, in other words.
All right. I am doing a horrible quick deal here. All right. No, come back. So, get this up to here. All right. So, if you would imagine that this gray portion here is kind of like an awning, an overhang, right off the back of the train. The train is moving that direction. That was a horrible color, but you get the idea. Train's moving that direction, right? This is a platform. The red is the platform connecting to the next train. And the yellow block here is the storage compartment itself, right? If I understood correctly, Durdrag is underneath here, watching around this lip of an overhang, because his thought is that whatever's up there would have to drop down from here. The guard got up and is looking in this direction. Your illusion would have gone off either here, or the middle part of the other side, your choice.
Yeah, one of the corners. Don't matter.
All
Either one. Pick one.
So your illusion's here, and then where do you want to be in relationship to everything?
The other corner to the left of that. I get to the west
up there.
Of that. Yep.
All right. So now, if we just argue that
Steve, step me back closer to the actual doorway so that I'm watching the overhang from north to east.
That's fine.
Side.
I don't really have a good way to move you right a second, but
Okay.
This is just for that. But so you're there, right? Arguably the text block is north. What direction are you facing, Rob?
Well, I'm kind of looking both directions. I mean, I can look at my illusion and look at the other guard, right? I mean,
Okay, perfect.
I'm not just going to focus.
So the guard is also looking at the top of this the cart you're on, and you see him. He looks over at you, Rob, and he gestures
Yes.
with this sort of hand over hand motion like this.
Okay.
And when he indicates, you can see that there is a ladder to your left.
Perfect. All right. So I'm going to go over there and I will stealth as best I can.
Okay.
And make my way up there.
All right. So Alex, you saw this flash of movement, and you kind of lost it, right? It didn't make any sense for it to be where it was.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no alarm drawn. There's nothing, crazy going on, anything like that. Hugo, you saw the same thing. You saw a distinctive, small-sized movement. Only the one you saw was on top of the dining car versus the last car. There is nothing continuing to move. You saw a glimpse of it for a moment, and there's been no follow-up movement nor follow-up noise.
You're muted there, Hugo, if you're speaking.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Say that again.
So you saw the same sort of fleeting movement, smaller in size, on top of the dining car, whereas these guys are all focused on the back. You saw it on top of the dining car. There's been no follow-up movement, nor has there been any sound, but you saw the movement in that direction.
And it's just a blur of motion, like out of the corner of my eye. I can't tell.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
As we're are we passing by like trees, or like could I think to myself that it's something else, like
a bird would be a large bird, maybe.
like
But
could I Akram's razor it to, like, just sort of mentally wash it
Sure.
away.
You could, but you could think to yourself, large bird, or you do know that gnomish clerics are the ones that maintain this particular train, and it could be one of them on top of the car servicing it at 45 miles an hour while it's not at the station.
Okay.
Apparently your Occam's razor is very dull, but you could explain it away if that's what you wanted to do.
Well, it just seems so unlikely that, like, my initial response would be, "Oh my God, something's wrong."
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. It's something that doesn't fit, not necessarily something's wrong.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just a bird, right? Like, I see the motion in the window out of the corner of my eye. I look over. There's no like trees that we're passing or whatever, so like my mind is like, oh, it's a bird.
Okay.
And we keep going in the direction that we're going.
All right. Well, eventually both you and Anthargus make it back into your cart or your car and into your respective rooms, unless you're going to sit and chat. But nothing untoward happens to you in that brief travel.
Okay.
Back on the tail end of the train, are you climbing up there, Wolfram?
Yes. Stealthily, best I can.
Go ahead and give me your.
I'm going to climb to the point where I can peek over the lip. You want to stealth?
Yeah, give me your move silent roll.
It's my best skill. 24.
All right, you make no noise as best you can tell, and you get up so you can just barely peek over, and you don't. There's no person or thing up here.
All right, so I'm gonna reach into my pouch, carefully, and I'll pull out a small handful of sand, because I have some spell ingredients on me. Sand's a common one, and I'm gonna just scatter it on the train and see if it seems to bounce off anything.
Right. So you throw your sand and it's very rapidly blown away at 45 miles an hour, but you don't see it hit anything. At no point did it impact or did it disperse weird or anything like that.
Okay.
Give me a quick perception check.
Yep.
While you're up there.
18.
Okay. There are scratch marks up here.
Okay, I'm going to climb back down and then go over and catch the guard's eye and go shake my head like nothing up there.
Durag, you saw Wolfram climb up and then climb back down. But nothing there. So after a few moments, the guard kind of scratches his head and now speaks. And he kind of looks at you guys and, are you sure you saw something?
Scratches.
It's not
on the roof.
It's not how often you fall. It's how often you stand up again. I step on top of the rail, and from my position, jump to the top of the awning.
Okay.
It's an acrobatic jump.
Yeah, so make me acrobatics because you're also departing something that's moving 45 miles an hour. Physics is going to be a real pain in your butt right this second.
Which is the reason why I'm going to the corner and I'm jumping forward so the train's running under my grasp.
Sure. That's fine.
Hang on a sec.
Cartoon physics, yeah.
That's fine.
No, it's actually how you jump from one car to the other on a moving train, which was done a lot during the
right. But that would be you here and the train moving, so you're going this way.
You do it the other way too. You just have to time you have to
jump
make
the crap out of it. All right, that's fine. Just make your roll. I'm not too worried about the physics unless you really blow it.
I think he's actually right. I think the physics allow for you to jump forward in a train car as well, because you're going the same speed the train is going. So it's essentially
Right.
Briefly.
But you do immediately start to slow down.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, what's the roll?
13.
All right, that's fine. You
Physics
didn't
is
botch
what
it.
helped me, so.
So you get to the top of the roof. You don't land as elegantly as perhaps you wanted because, I mean, let's face it, this is not a trick you've ever practiced. But you land up there.
No, but you got to admit it was impressive as heck.
Right. It's also one of those ones if you'd failed, it'd been a trick you only tried once. Humble. All right, so you land up on the top, and you see the same thing. It's there's nothing up there. Give me a perception check.
$11.
Okay. Yeah, so you see the same claw marks or scratches up here. They're obviously not just like wear and tear scratches because of the way they are, but you don't see anything, nor do you see anything continuing up the train. You do, however, feel a lot more wind in your face up here than you did down below.
Looking at the scratches, you said they're obviously not wear and tear. Do they look like claws or tool marks?
They look more natural than tools.
And the top of this train is made of what?
I don't know. How familiar are you with metal? It's made out of metal.
I mean, okay, but there's claw marks in the metal.
Yeah. I mean, in the same way that you might scratch up a copper pot by rolling across some rocks or something. Like they're not deep, they're not rended. It's just you can see where the marks hit.
Furrows.
Yeah.
No, but something landed on it or pulled itself or held itself in place there. I'm going to balance and walk towards where the claw marks end closest to me.
Okay. So they are relatively right on top of you. Like they're not far from the edge of this overhang.
And I don't walk into anything.
Nope. But you do hear a voice from below. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to get down before you fall.
I'm going to walk down the middle of that. All right. Trains again, roof and a walk. There's literally a walkway for it. I'm staying on the walkway and walking down to where the ladder was. I'm not jumping back off.
Okay, yeah. And as you get down, the guards at the base, he's well, I don't know what it was, and I appreciate you looking into it, but I really can't have the our guests climbing about on the top. Perhaps you should return to your cabins and thank you.
Question: have you ever known anything to scratch the roof of the car before? With claw marks, that is?
He kind of shrugs. I mean, not me personally. I'm sure it's possible.
Well,
what kind of creatures?
I mean, I
are common to the area that we travel through at this time.
He kind of gives you this. Damn it, Jim! I'm a guard, not another.
Not a biologist.
But he deer. You see him like looking around, like he's trying to spot an animal and tell you what it is. Birds.
To the best of this one's knowledge, deer do not have claws, and birds do not walk on moving surfaces.
It's possible that it was scratched back at one of the stations. It's not uncommon for ne'er-do-wells to try and hide.
Ride for free.
But we did our checks and discovered nothing. But yes, I appreciate your efforts into looking into this, and
All right. I'm going to leave the cart, head back towards. But when I get on the next car forward, I'm going to quickly pop up partway up the ladder and see if there's any scratch marks on that roof.
no, you don't. Not that you immediately see.
Okay. I'll nod and I'll just be extra perceptive as I walk my way back to my cabin.
Okay. Yeah. So, whether Dirtrog, whether you return to your cabin or take your seat back and begin whittling, as soon as you're not investigating and climbing around on this guy's train and perchance falling to your death under his watch, you see him. He checks the luggage door to make sure it's locked, and then he walks up the train, like back towards the front.
If he's walking back up to the front, I'm going to, and I'm going to lay a hand on, and I'm sorry, I'm horrible on names. Robert.
Wolfram.
Yeah.
Wolfram. Yeah.
On Wolfram's shoulder.
Yes.
And this one fears there may be more to this. I would recommend you keep your weapon safe and to hand. And I'm going back to the chair the guard was sitting in. Lean it back against the wall near the door and go back to carving. But I'm leaving the blade out on the spear as it's propped up over my leg.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll nod from his advice for sure. Yeah, and then make my way back to my car.
All right. Well, you get back to your car. As you do, you pass through the car that has Thargus and Hugo in it.
I'm going to stop then for a moment. I don't recognize Hugo. I don't believe I've met him yet, but I recognize Thargus. And I'm going to, I'll just knock on the door.
My door. Where Thargus is.
On Thargus's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you guys are different rooms. Sorry. Yeah, Thargus is.
Yeah, the door to my room is open.
Did you see anything unusual a few minutes ago? Sudden movement? Anything odd?
No. I point to the other room. I say, gentleman there, Hugo thought he noticed something, but thought better of it. Why?
I am not certain, but perhaps keep your wits about you. There may be people aboard that are not supposed to be here. Or creatures. I saw claw marks upon... Dirtrag and I saw movement, and then claw marks upon a roof of one of the cars.
There is someone very very important on, riding with us. I mean,
no, that's not what I mean.
No. I mean that person may be in. If you're thinking there's a threat, there would be ample reason why there would be a threat.
Do you know this important person? You seem an important type yourself.
I know him by reputation, and it is a good idea to, let's say, maintain good relations with those who are very influential.
Sound advice indeed. Then my suggestion to you would be, perhaps he might consider it a favor if you were to warn him of a possible danger aboard the train. Your connections might enable you to get a little further, or them to take your warning more seriously than mine.
Yes, far better of an idea than a coffee cup, I tell you. I absolutely agree.
Yes, well, perhaps we should do that forthwith.
Sure.
I will speak to the gentleman across the way and see what he saw.
Should I go armed?
Don't brandish it about, but be alert, be wary.
All right. So I'm gonna kind of take his advice and grab a small dagger, more like a letter opener, really, and grab a small dagger and just stick it in a waistband and leave out the room. Knock on Hugo's door and get his attention.
Yeah, I guess I'd be there too.
All right. So
I'm not hiding anything. I let Wolfram know who the hell this Hugo person is that I'm talking about when I walk over to the door anyway. So, I mean, it's pretty clear who I'm.
You mentioned it already.
Yeah.
Okay. Do these doors, Steve? Do these doors have like windows on them? Like, can I see people coming or like?
Yeah.
Yep.
100%.
Okay. All right. So like, I set the book down again, and like, and finally, and get up and go to the door again. Yes.
Picard on Risa.
How can I help you now?
Well, forgive my intrusion, good sir. Wolfram Van Gant. I am taking your name is Hugo.
Yes.
Yes. Well,
Pleasure.
as I said, forgive my intrusion, but did you see something unusual, out of the ordinary, recently in the past few minutes?
No.
You're certain?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I would caution you, sir, to be on your guard. We saw some unusual activity at the back of the car and discovered
Are you
scratch marks upon the roof of one of the cars.
part of the train security?
No, I just happened to be fortunate enough to be near one when this occurred. Saw it with my own eyes.
So security is handling it then?
Yes, perhaps you might want to be wary for the next little while.
Okay, then. Well, thank you.
I leave you to your peace. So I will leave.
Good luck.
Okay.
I close the door again.
Lisa
Goes back to his book, page 2.
Yeah, right.
All right, Alex, Icarus, anything you want to do with your scant little bit of information you had there?
I'll be turning up there soon.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to metagame it too much, but after looking a while, I probably would head back into the car, just to maybe because I've been sort of staring at some of the springs and the rocker mechanisms they have for the wheels and all this other stuff. So I'm probably going to go back to my cabin to like write up some notes, maybe draw some sketches, getting some ideas, get the gears turning, as it were, to some ideas I get from the mechanism. So I'll probably head back, probably not too long after Wolfram returns to the cabin. So.
Okay.
I come in really excited. By the way, it's like, Wolfram, you should see the rockers on this car. They're amazing. The springs are the size of my head. They're amazing. You really should see these. It's an astonishing mechanism.
He says that to me when I come back into the room.
I think the way it actually works out is you might actually beat him back because he is out making technical drawings of the cart.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I would be most interested to hear about them, my little friend. But first, I must ask you a question, which may be pressing. Did you happen to notice anything strange or unusual in the past little while?
Strange in what way?
Well, three of us noticed motion at the last car, and when we investigated, I found scratch marks upon the roof of it. There may be persons or creatures aboard unwanted, uninvited. You might wish to be alert.
Yeah. How big were the scratch marks?
So I will approximate the dimensions to him.
A child's hand, maybe.
Yeah.
Like if you were to go from outside mark to outside mark.
Yeah. Okay.
Ain't no spare.
And you think they were claws for sure?
Certainly claws. There was more than one set. Both Dirterag, a guard, and myself saw motion, but nothing more than the claws.
Did it look like 2 feet or 4?
Bipedal, I believe.
Well, that's an interesting thing. Scratch the middle, you say? Now, I probably do know something a little bit more about metallurgy. So I kind of think about it in those terms, and based on what he told me, does it sound like I wouldn't think like a regular bird could do this. Like if just like a hawk or something landed on the roof.
It's possible. A lot of the thanks to the core, the sort of influence of core, a lot of the practical metals of this train have been stripped out and replaced with fancier metals. So in places that could have been iron and steel, they're now shiny bronze or tin or copper.
All right.
So it's possible, but
I say, well, maybe they have some big eagles around here. I don't know. Seems kind of strange to dropping their moving train though.
Your workshop back in the Stormont Mountains. How meticulous would you say you kept it?
Oh, very. My workshop is my life. Anal retentive, you might say.
All right. So as you step back in the room, it immediately hits you that some of your things are mildly out of place.
Oh, okay. Have you been looking for something?
I have only been back briefly. I brought some extra food, and the message, I came looking for you.
Huh.
Why?
Someone's been in here, at least looking through my things. So I'll kind of go over and look. I mean, I don't have too much in here at this point. Most of my important stuff is in storage, but
everything seems to be accounted for.
Interesting.
I'll look over my stuff, but I'm unsure if it's been changed or not.
Right.
Well, that puts another cog in the machine now, doesn't it?
Yes, there's definitely some suspicious things occurring upon this vessel.
Well, let's find out, shall we? And I just kind of fold my legs and I drop down to the floor. I drop down to the floor of the cabin and I reach into a pouch behind me, and I pull out this handful of nuts, bolts, gears, all these little machine parts,
right.
other bits of stone, and so forth. And I kind of put them in my hands, and I'm kind of rocking back and forth, murmuring to myself, and I take out my holy symbol, flip it so there's like a little concave dish now, and I drop these into the dish, and they go kind of spinning around, and you even see like little sparks of light as magic sort of takes them and it flips them around a bit. I'm casting augury.
I'm just going to watch enraptured.
So let's see. I can. I mean, it's kind of based on.
Right. So it's a will or woe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So it's an event that's going to take place in the next 30 minutes.
Yeah.
A specific event, and you can ask for an omen about the results of it.
Right. All right. So, and it's. I'm trying to think. Is it just one question, or can I like it's?
The spell doesn't take any kind of puzzles.
I think it's just one question.
This is just one question, but you can cast it
Yeah.
multiple times. Yep.
So, is anyone on this train in mortal danger?
Ugh.
Yeah, I know. I apologize as a fellow DM. I mean,
No, that's fine.
Spells like to suck.
The spell's not really meant to handle that type of question either. So what happens is, for the first time in the entire train ride, there's a slight bump, and one of your nuts pops out.
Oh, sorry. I should have checked that before I sat down.
One of your nuts pops out of the dish, and it rolls across the floor, and you get that sort of that quarter roll of that.
Yep.
And it settles right at the edge of the door.
Did you learn
Right.
something? What happened? That was interesting.
Huh. Well, now in the past would I've interpreted that as a good or bad result or a null,
Yes.
or is it just something I've never seen before?
Let me ask you this: do you collect the nut back off the ground?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
As you do, there is a speck of dried blood right in the center of the nut.
Oh. So I pick it up and I look at it. Wow. Huh. And I show it to Wolfram.
Oh no, not like it's not in the nut. It's like the nut
Right.
fell over it on the floor, right? So like
I
highlighted
see.
it for you.
I see. and so I get down and I actually I take out my little toolkit and I take out a little like glass, for detail work, and I get down and I look at it. So I'm actually like laying on my stomach on the floor. Wolfram, look, blood.
Whose blood?
I don't know.
Where did that come from?
Are you bleeding?
I quickly look over. I
No.
do not believe so.
Yeah, I check myself too, just to make sure,
Yeah.
What does this mean?
Well, if our stuff was ransacked and there's a drop of blood in our room that wasn't ours, it's quite possible that the person who came in here was bleeding.
If someone
And,
went over our stuff and took nothing, they were looking for something which they did not find.
Yeah,
What do you suppose that might be?
a magic coffee cup, perhaps. I don't know. Yeah. Well, obviously nothing we have. Have you met anyone else on the train that might seem suspicious, or maybe keeping to themselves, hiding in their room, maybe reading a book?
I doubt KO. Those would be Althanians. I do not believe they would have done something.
No, they're
At
too
least if
far,
they
far,
were to come in
far
here,
too stupid.
they would have done damage or stolen something.
Yeah, they would have pissed on our stuff.
We met, the two companions we met. I met a quiet fellow. He seemed rather pious, a reader. He wanted to be left alone to read a book. He did not seem a threat. He really seemed to want his solitude.
Well, as I understand, they
what
have,
of that? What of that woman we saw in the chainmail?
She didn't seem to think too much of us.
No.
Nice armor, though. Nice armor. Perhaps we should speak to one of the someone in authority here about this.
I tried telling a guard about what I'd seen, the claw marks and all, and he even saw Shadow himself, but didn't seem terribly concerned. But yes, I can think of no other course of action at the moment.
I can't think of a coincidence that
perhaps your new friend Kale would be interested to hear of this.
He might indeed. So, who is that half-orc? Probably the most authoritative person that we might approach at this point.
All the guards you ran into have sort of held themselves in the same authoritative manner. Like they don't like. Okay. No one's walked up and been like, "I'm captain of the train guards."
Yeah. I'll go talk to my buddy Barry. So I'm gonna head down to the dining car.
All right.
Yeah, I'll go with you.
All right. Hugo, you reading your book?
Well, after they come and like give me this sort of, vague warning about something being wrong, I will go to the window again and like just kind of like, does it open or no?
No.
All right. Then I do that thing where you like kind of like press your head against the side of the window,
right?
To try and see
further of the train.
Yeah, of the train. And I imagine it's pretty loud in here. Just a general noise of the train.
The only thing you see that direction is you see the woman in the scarlet leathers. She is standing out on the railing, the pathway of the VIP cart, the third one in the row. She's standing out there and sightseeing, maybe, like she's just looking around.
I'll put the like the wide bladed dagger in my belt, and I'll make my way to that VIP cart.
Okay. What are you doing there, Thargus?
Right now I was contemplating going to bother KO, and I'm a little nervous about doing that. So I want to gather some of my breakfast buddies.
Okay.
Find them, because I remember Wolfram walking around and asking about something, about whether he noticed something or whatever, and if there's any way to discover what's going on, I can make some inroads for this. So yeah.
All right, Dirty Rog, what about you?
Without noticing anything further, I'm going to put everything back in the small pouch, pull the blade back in on the cane, and I'm going to stroll up. All right, the way you drew the train before, okay, when you were giving us the diagram of the back cart, I'm going up what would be the north side, and I'm heading forward on the train, simply strolling. As I cross from car to car, I go back over to the north side and continue to walk up that side. I'm leaving senses open as opposed to staring in any one or looking at any one particular thing. I'm scanning for movement or an unusual sound or shadow, but I'm not locking down, just staring around blindly. I'm just more or less letting peripheral pick up movement, which it will do a lot better than staring for it.
Yeah. So the only movement you catch, well, the first thing catches your eye is the lady in the scarlet leather is up at the front, standing out there and sort of looking around. And then you catch other movement as you come around, you cross the platform and connect to the next car. You do that, and ahead of you, you see, Hugo is leaving his room and heading back towards the dining car. So that's the direction he'll have to go. And then I would guess shortly right after that, you would probably see Thargus almost running after him, as he was like, "Wait a second, my breakfast buddy." So that's the only movement you see. As far as strange sounds, everything on here is so strange. It's hard to pick up sounds out here because of the sound of being on this train.
I'm looking. Because the claws look natural,
Mhm.
and most of the sounds on the train are going to be artificial.
Mhm.
That's more what I'm keen off
Sure.
of. Conversation as I pass a window is going to draw my attention. But again, it's more of a general scan and not looking for any one thing in particular. Granted, the train noises are going to drown out a lot, but that's the reason I'm doing the same, leaving the eyes more peripherally.
Right.
scanning.
The only real conversation you hear, you pass one window and you see the three Althanian wannabes inside, and they're chatting about something. But
I'm not trying to listen in.
right, very quickly your mind
conversation.
dismisses any sort of pay attention to them. And you continue to make your way up. So Wolfram and Icarus, you guys make it to the dining cart, looking for Barrett, I suppose. And you see Barrett. He has a pot, water perhaps. He is setting it down on a table, and there are 4 guards there: the halfling, the half orc, the human from the back of the cart, if you know what he looks like,
Mhm.
and a very fair-featured young woman, also wearing her blues and reds. And they're talking in a hushed manner, and now drinking out of these cups. He pours whatever's in it. You can see steam rising from it into these ceramic mugs, and they are drinking that. And he pours it, and he turns and, gentlemen, it's early for dinner. Were you taking lunch, perhaps?
No, thank you. I actually turn to the guards since they're all here. I say, gentlemen, I hate to interrupt your lunch, but we have a small situation. I'm afraid someone has been in our cabin and has been through our things. And
the halfling that Wolfram had spoken to before stands up, basically pulls his legs out from underneath the table, stands up onto the bench, and then drops down. And he walks over to you, and he reaches up and rests his arm uncomfortably, you would think, onto this bar. It's up here.
Yeah.
And
I know the position. I've done it myself. Yeah.
He leans that direction. And what do you mean that there's been someone in there?
Well, we came for breakfast, and I went out to the railing to enjoy the scenery there. And when we returned to our room, I noticed that my things weren't where they had been. I also found a small spot of blood on the floor. I'm rather concerned about this. Nothing was taken, as far as I can tell, but things were definitely moved about.
So after you returned from your meal, your room was in disorder.
Indeed, yes.
But nothing was taken.
No. As I say, nothing was taken. Though we were violated of a kind, and I think it's something that you should know about. Should anyone else
use my? I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, he
just-
turns from Wolfram and looks at you. And
I'm
what
going
are
to
your
be nodding
things
the whole time, and I'm going to be trying to persuade him with my persuasion skills and say, Yes, definitely. There was definitely someone in a room. If I were to hazard a guess, I am not the expert you are in this, of course, but it would seem that someone was looking for something and they failed to find it in our room. I wonder if other guests' belongings were similarly gone through.
And he looks at you and he nods and he looks back over his shoulder and again in this sort of pig Latinish common, he says something, and the young lady stands up and she leaves heading deeper, because remember you guys are in front of the
away from our
car.
car.
Yeah, she's
Right.
leaving away from it, back towards the rest of the passenger cars.
Mhm.
So back towards our cabin and everybody else's cabin, or almost
No.
everybody else's cabin.
You happen to be in one of the passenger cars that are in front of the dining car.
Oh, okay, my bad.
The rest of them are all behind it. So she's heading to one's behind.
Mm.
And the other guards mumble something, and the half orc goes with her, and then the human goes back towards the back of the train, towards where I guess you originally saw him.
Oh, well, I'm satisfied with that. I'm going to, I guess, go Barrett.
If I
Ask him if he saw anything unusual.
Okay.
Sorry.
I was going to add to the guards. I say, and my companion here was telling me that there may have been something at the back of the train, something on the roof. There's didn't find anything, but I think that's a curious coincidence, and I'm concerned that with such important guests on the train, there could be something more nefarious at work.
Yes,
I may
your
be so
own
bold to
guard.
offer-
I'm sorry. There's a
No, that's
delay.
right. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Your own guard saw the evidence himself. Claw marks upon the roof.
Yes.
Sudden movement.
Daniel was talking to us about that, actually.
Your vessel is very fine indeed. Again, I'm going to be trying to bullshit persuade him, and it seems very well maintained. And it seems unusual that both of these things would occur: sudden movement, claw marks upon the roof, belongings of passengers being disturbed. It is difficult to think it might be coincidence.
And one last bit here: if that rear car is indeed where all the valuables are being stored, is it a coincidence that there was something back there after our rooms were perhaps searched? Could they get in there to look for something, if I may?
Not again.
Mm,
I'm basically doing
Highly- highly unlikely.
Well, as unlikely as it is, I thought prudent to point it out.
No. I appreciate that. However, the room back there is warded by I assure you, some of the best magical wards possible.
I feel better about that. I have some valuable
Oh.
equipment back there myself.
I apologize for the inconvenience. About this time, Hugo, you'll walk in, and then shortly behind that, I guess, would be Durdarug. Because you have to pass through this cart to get to the VIP anyway.
I'll point. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'll just say I'll point to Durdarog and say there is another witness.
I'm walking around the outside of it on those walkways you said were there.
Okay, so yeah, you don't come through. That's fine.
Fair enough.
But Hugo, unless you're walking around the outside, also, he steps in, and the halfling. Well, I don't suppose I tell you to return to your cabin while we look into this, but if you wish to return to your cabin, you're more than welcome to.
I could get a drink here if you'd like to investigate without any interference. I understand.
Oh no, we won't be entering your rooms without you present.
No, I appreciate that.
But rest assured, we will look into it.
Thank you.
If there's any way we can assist, please do not hesitate to call upon us.
We're at your service.
And he pulls out a small gnomish watch. They're very, very expensive. But he looks at it and still a couple hours before dinner. Well, let me go see what the others have found, and you gentlemen enjoy yourselves. Sorry for any inconvenience.
No, not at all. Not your fault. But thank you.
As he's walking by, he stops at you, Hugo, and looks up at you. And you, sir, were your things disturbed in your room as well?
I did not notice. I was in my room most of the time. But there's a woman outside who, if there is danger, maybe she should come back in. I don't know. It just seems there's a lot going on. A lot of people claiming that there are things going on, and not a lot of.
Well, that's the way of the mind. And he pauses. Woman outside, one of the passengers.
I suppose.
Well, I suppose I could go tell her to come inside. Which direction?
I point in the direction I was headed in, I guess.
All right. Well, I can head. Well, if you're heading that way, you can tell her to come in just as easy as I can, I suppose. Be polite, I suppose. But you're a member of the church. People have a lot of respect for you. She'll listen. And he walks past you and goes on back to the back end of the train, presumably doing whatever guards do.
Okay.
I'm just going to give a brief nod to Hugo. He seems to, like his solitude, so I don't want to intrude, but just sort of, I'll acknowledge his presence.
You all are certain you saw something?
I am quite certain, as is Durdarag, and the claws are unmistakable.
I didn't see what they saw, but I will confirm that my things were tampered with.
Well, maybe she saw something too while she's outside, and I make a beeline for her cart or her car, the VIP car.
All right. So the next car up is actually the car that has the rooms that Wolfram and Icarus are in, and as you come out of it, there is a much longer pathway, like in between the cars, that connects over to the VIP car. They're right there. You have the engine, you have the extra car, the VIP car, and then theirs. And you don't see the woman standing on the outside. What you do see, however, is Durdarag coming around the outside. It takes him a little longer to walk the curves of the train, but he basically, at the same time that you would be setting foot onto this bridge, he would be right there getting ready to do the exact same thing to cross over. And I suppose you have Thargus right behind you, and then Wolfram and Icarus behind you, perhaps returning to their carts, or are you guys staying there for a drink?
No, I must head back to my. Oh, I'll head back to the car. There's no point in waiting there.
Racking up more bill.
Yeah, right.
I'll go with them. What do you think is going on here, Icarus? There is something about
I suspect dirty work somehow. between breaking and entering in blood that can and strange things on the roof. That doesn't spell a happy story as far as I'm concerned. I suppose at this point the only thing we do is wait for the next screw to fall.
Steve, the lady in red was you said was on the railing outside.
Right.
Okay. If I'm coming up on that one and we're getting ready to cross the that bridge, I'm going to move to the opposite side of where she is.
Okay, so she would have actually been on the north side as well. So you cross around and go to the
south side.
South side. That's fine.
Okay.
Right as you guys get there, you hear this blood curdling scream from inside the cart or the VIP car.
The VIP car? Oh, okay. Male or female?
Female.
Okay.
We can hear this?
Yep, it is that loud that it is. You can hear it as the doors are just closing.
Yeah,
I will race in that direction.
Yeah. Take off at a run.
All right.
Forward of our current position, or even with us, because I'm by this point I would be cresting around the corner to be walking down that outside south rail.
So it would be in the cart that you're walking around the edge of.
Right. Yeah, I know it's in the car. My question is forward of my position in the car or even with me.
It's hard to tell. It's coming from inside of a metal car.
Yeah, but I'm walking by windows.
Well, it's not at the window you're at.
Okay.
So
I would put it forward of me someplace.
The other thing that strikes you is as you get to this window, there's a gate preventing you from going any further forward in the VIP along the outside of the VIP card.
Right.
No.
Well, inside the car, I draw the big CX like shaped dagger, which is like
right. So the door to this car is locked. Right. It's this is presumably meant to keep people from getting to the VIPs. So as you are fumbling with the door, you see this young lady. She opens the door.
So it's considered picking a lock.
Yeah.
See if I can get this one.
The door that I'm in front of, or a door?
Yes.
To her cabin?
Nope. She opens the door you're in front of, and she is not as elegant looking as this at the moment, but there you have her.
Okay.
She has blood down the front of her gown. And a horrified, shocked look on her face. She points past her towards the front, and she stammers out the sentence, "She killed him."
I pull her like physically into Thargus's arms, like she's in front of me, and
right.
So I just grab her and pull her back towards him, and then rush forward into the car with my dagger drawn.
So through the glass window, from the outside, Durag, you see Hugo go running into this cart. You see Wolfram go running into this cart. So basically, everyone says they're going in. You see them go, tearing into the cart.
I'm gonna stay with the woman.
You also catch a fleeting movement above you going backwards. But it is so quick that you're not sure you saw it versus you panicked and saw it. But you do hear now this sobbing woman, muffled as she buries her face into Thargus's chest, crying, transferring the blood from her bodice to whatever you're wearing there, Thargus. Her hands are trembling. She's shaking. She's clearly distraught. As you enter into the cart there, Hugo, you being the first on the scene, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
You see this gentleman
Guys, take up the Xanax.
I have.
Okay.
laying on the floor, very dead. Standing over him is the woman in the scarlet leathers with a short sword covered in blood, and she has a horrified look on her face as she sees you guys enter the room, and she barks out this sort of, it's escaping, it went that way, and she points towards the back of the train as she stands there covered in blood.
Put down your
All
weapon.
right. I'm going to run in the direction she pointed.
Okay. So you are tearing back to the train.
Yeah.
Dirtdog, what are you doing? You've now seen Hugo running this way. You hear he's escaping, and then you see Wolfram go running that way.
I'm still outside on the edge.
Yes.
Is there a ladder at this point?
No, there is no access to this cart whatsoever. If you
No,
go, if you go back one car, there is.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But there's no. I've crossed over, but I got stopped. There's no ladder I can access on this car.
Correct.
I'm going to turn around and hit the ladder on the car behind me.
Okay.
And I'm going up the top.
All right.
And I'm going to move towards again down the center rail, move to the back of the cart. I am not running because I'm timing jumps from car to car.
Right. All right. So you're doing that. Wolfram's gone that way. Thargus, you are outside.
Yeah, I should be near him, right?
Who?
Because I'm headed. I should be near Dirtereg. Right?
Yeah. Basically,
yeah.
If the camera were to pan out and look at this and could see through the car, you're running underneath of him, perhaps just a little ahead of him because he had to climb up a ladder. And he's up, and you can hear the dunk, dunk, dunk of his feet as he's running on the roof, which may or may not set off some freakiness in your mind.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would have heard this thing because I heard it once scramble, right? It ran over me because I was in, it was going out kind of thing. You said we heard like a on the roof.
The scraping, yeah.
That was like, you talking about back way at the back of the cart? Of the train?
No, when we went running in, like right as this happened, you said we heard a scraping running towards the back on the roof.
No, I didn't say anything about scraping. What I said was that
it was a blur.
Alex
I think.
and DBJ Thargus saw a brief movement above them.
Okay. Okay.
But either way, yes, you were indicated that something was above you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in any case, even if I think that Dirtereg is it, I'm going to try and stay ahead of it. It's got to stop at the end of the car.
Yeah.
Into the train. So
I'm
full run.
I also want to react to that blur too, so just let me know.
Yeah, are you running after it or?
Well, what I wanted to do is, I was actually going. Is the ladder right there?
Yeah, basically, if you go back to the beginning of the next car, there's a ladder. You saw Dirtdog go up it.
Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be heading that way, and I am going to grab my holy symbol, and I'm kind of twisting it in my hand as I go, and I do one sort of final pull, and my eyes begin to glow this sort of brilliant blue as I detect magic. So I'm going to I'm as I climb up onto the top of the car. Right. I'm going to be looking, for anything magical.
So it takes your eyes a few minutes or a few moments to adjust as the entire train is magical.
That's true. Yeah.
Once that becomes, background.
Right.
You can see hints of glows from below you. Here and there. Possibly people's, personal items.
Right.
Dirtdog, you're not carrying anything blatantly magical, right?
Nothing magical, period.
Yeah. So you don't see anything from him, and all you're catching up here is residual spell.
Okay.
Which if you want to take the time to look at it, I can tell you what.
Well, if I don't see anything moving, like I was thinking if there was something, potentially invisible or something like that, I might be able to see it. But since I don't see that, I will take a moment to, and since they're already running after whatever this is, if they can catch it, I'll take the moment to examine the magic more closely.
Okay.
Okay, point of order here real quick as
Yeah.
far as movement goes, since we're doing that.
Yep.
Yeah, granted, I am not barreling down there, but again, at least this time the train's movement's working for me from car to car,
Sure.
and my normal movement is 40.
Yeah, I mean you
Yeah.
cover a good bit. And so by the second car, what'll happen is as Wolfram's exiting it, he will literally be able to see Dirtirog jump from the previous car to the next one and identify it as Dirtirog, who's on the roof running. However, Alex, you get transmutation as the School of Magic, I believe. I'm going to double check myself here, but I'm pretty sure it's freaking transmutation.
Or alteration. One of the two.
It is transmutation. And it has a weirdness about it, but it's transmutation. So you guys are hauling towards the back of the train. Both of you get the feeling that there's something just in front of you that is barely outpacing you, which is super frustrating to Dirtirog, right? Like he's been trained to do this, and this thing's barely outpacing him. Back in this cabin, you tell her to drop her weapon.
Yeah.
And she
I have like the dagger held out
Right.
towards her, and I do bear all amount of seriousness that I can muster at her.
She looks at you and has this furious look on her face of "You're letting it get away!" And she tries to move past you.
I'll push her back into the room.
She you can see that she tightens her grip on the sword she has.
Do not throw your life away here. Put it down. I say as I'm wearing like some fucking wool shirt.
Right, and a dagger. She's fully armored with a sword.
Right.
She.
If he is still alive, I can heal him. But I have to have you put your weapon down first.
So with that, she lowers her weapon and steps back.
All right. Then I'll use healing light.
Okay.
Which is the warlock ability. And like light literally pours in from the window and begins to radiate around this dude. And if he's alive, then I can give him hit points. If he's dead, then obviously that's not going to work.
So you get the feeling that he is something is competing in him. He's not quite dead, but he's not quite alive. You feel like you may have given the living part of it an edge. How many hit points does it restore?
Let me see. It's at least 5. I don't know if I add anything to that. Hold on one second.
Okay.
I don't believe I do. No, I don't. It's just I have a number of hit die. I have a number of D6s equal to 1 plus my warlock level. And the range is 60 feet, and it's
okay.
I can spend as many or as little of them as I want at a time, and so I just give them the 5 points.
He remains unconscious, and not all of his wounds close.
Okay,
but
he's alive.
What?
But he's not dead. I know he's alive, but he's not dead.
So I get near him on my hands and knees, and he is covered in blood. Right, he has some kind of wound.
Yeah, he has a gash that is running from just under his chin down to just below his pectorals.
Now, I'm proficient in all manner of weaponry. What would I be able to know? Like, can I get an investigation roll to see what kind of weapon that might have caused that wound? 12 plus 14.
Whatever it was serrated and curved.
Is her weapon serrated or curved?
Hers is not.
Okay.
Because whatever made this didn't cut so much as rip.
Will he live or no? Medicine?
Go for it.
I have no idea. All right. That being the case, then we'll assume that I if I don't know, then the safe assumption is that he's going to die. As I'm sure the wound looks pretty horrible. I will begin softly praying over his body, and I will just burn all my lay on hands healing on him.
How many points is that in total?
10.
Okay.
So 15 total between the two.
All right. We'll jump back there in a second. All right. Are people running through the train?
Yes.
All right.
So
one
thing I'm going to do is I can take a dash as a bonus action. So I get move and dash, and then as my action, I'm going to cast jump up on myself.
Okay.
So next time I get between cars, I'm just going to do like a foot. You know what I mean? Just leap up.
All right. So
I'm not going to try and leap way above. Just, you know what I mean?
Right. Now you pop up right. You pop up right behind Dirty. You guys have 3 more cars to cross before you're on the dining car at this point. You have 3 cars to go between you and the caboose, let's call it.
Okay, so I'm readying a spell as I'm running.
Got it.
Steve, my movement doesn't interfere with it. I'm going to pick a point about 40 feet ahead of me, and I'm throwing sleep. It affects 20 feet past that.
Okay.
I don't know if it's going to do anything, but he's ahead of me, and I'm hoping I can knock his ass out.
There's
I don't have to see it.
I know. I need you to roll the hit points. That's how sleep works now. Because it's number of hit points affecting the lowest hit point creatures first, right? Yeah.
$24.
Jeebus. All right, so you can feel your you get the feeling that 3 individuals were affected by this. And you hear the tumbling of something as it falls from the train.
I was just gonna say, it's just gonna fall asleep and off.
And wake up when he hits the ground.
No, it does not. It freaking dies. 40 miles an hour like that. Unconscious. It breaks everything, and it's everything.
Yeah, but it also becomes visible.
So yeah,
We're
for
blinded by it. Think of the physics, right? Think of the physics, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, trying to catch a glimpse of it is going to be nuts.
Yes.
Yeah, we'd be 500 feet or several hundred feet past it by the time it hit the ground, just by the physics.
Yeah. But what you essentially see, we'll use this image because why not? You see a fleeting image of that hit the ground. before it crumples and just falls into the tall grass that runs along the side of.
Okay, that's action, and I'm slowing my movement as soon as I throw the spell.
All right.
So that I don't trip over somebody sleeping out there and fall off.
There's no one else on the top that you can see.
I don't know that though.
Right. Wolfram, you see the same thing. You see this thing fall to the ground. You can't really make out exactly what it was, but you see this brownish gold blob of now broken bones.
I'm just happy that I've confirmed that there's something there, that I'm not chasing phantoms. So with the spell I was preparing, at the limit of my range, I'm going to throw up an illusion of like just a bar, like I think it was a kind of bar that would come down to block a train.
Right.
I'm just going to sort of have that on an angle sticking up from the end of one of the cars, kind of thing, like you know what I mean? Just
yeah.
Like if they see it, they might slow down. I don't know.
Right. No. So you don't see anything. You don't hear like any heels on the roof as it tries to skid to a stop or anything like that. Okay. You do hear someone cry out from below you. And you just hear a scream of Kara. That's it.
All right. Well, I'll be sure not to run off the end.
Right. Icarus.
Yes.
As you're looking at this this faint magic, can you make me a wisdom save?
Yeah. Let's see. Where do we have for wisdom? Come on. Hang on. Bring in. I'm just gonna. It's at least 15. I can't. I'm trying to get my.
Okay, so you'll make a save. However,
okay.
you get this feeling of something malignant.
Okay.
Toxic and old. Okay. And I will. An image flashes in your head, and I will PM you that image.
By the way, this happened. The thing fell off up the train. I might be. I don't know if I see any of this, but do I see this thing like fall off to the side and
yeah, that's fine. Because as soon as it becomes unconscious, it loses its ability to maintain its invisibility. So you see this golden brown, I don't know, 4.5, 5 foot long creature off the train. Now you don't get to see what it is.
Right.
You just see this thing. Fargus, what are you doing?
I'm trying to comfort the woman that had like the blood splashed on her, maybe, and kind of like grabbing her to see if she's injured, and being a little horrified that the blood's all over me and my hands and such. Little squeamish wise, because it's quite a bit of blood in a big rush. But I know that she wanted to, like, she yelled out, something like "go after them" or "catch them" or something like that. And
the lady in scarlet did behind you.
Right.
This lady said that she killed him and indicated back into the car. She's turned her face and she's looking. She's still indie, but she's looking back into the car, and you can feel her shake her head against you. And he's gonna live? Is he dead?
I kind of hold her close, and I'm actually not certain myself, but I know that I can see Hugo. Well, he was reading a religious text, and I can see that he's kind of praying over him. And I said, I kind of turn her away and just say, "Well, it's in the God's hands at this moment," and basically like settle her down to the floor and go down to my knees so that she can so she's not doesn't interrupt them or anything like that.
Those of you at the back of the train begin hearing like dunk 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 of boots underneath of you. And you will eventually see guards coming out from these rooms, hauling butt back up towards the front. Back in the room, Hugo, as you are praying, you dump all this energy into him. You feel that he's not going to die at this moment. However, you get the exact same feeling that Icarus had. There is something dark, old, and malignant about this. You get the feeling that it wasn't just a blade that cut him. There was magic involved in this.
Would presumably divine sense or detect magic, the spell, would both of those help me figure out anything?
So you can cast detect magic, that's fine.
Yeah, I'll cast detect magic.
And then the divine sense. That's the one that tells you like outsiders and undead and so on and so
yeah,
forth.
celestials, fiends, fae.
So
strong evil, the undead, strong good. We can't hear you.
all right, there we go. So divine sense gives you this feeling of sort of fiendish magic left over. Detect magic, you can see this sort of magic worming its way through the gash in his chest.
Is it like heading towards his heart or
it
his
is
head,
you
or-
can literally, it looks like it's actually burrowing into all portions of him. Like it's riding his veins and eating its way through. Like you've never seen anything like it. This is not something that the church prepared you for.
I looked to the red-headed woman. Something very foul is here.
She kind of like thrusts her hand backwards or towards the back of the train. Was here.
No, I mean here, and I like point to this white-haired, blue-eyed man on the floor.
She looks down at him and will he live?
I don't know.
And
He's alive
that's
for
where
now,
we're
though.
going to break for the evening.
All right.
Does that work in the morning?
Okay.
But we'll do this again, not next Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. It'll be an every other Tuesday thing.
Mhm.
And we'll see what's going on. So let me stop this broadcast.